Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, and Matt, unfortunately, cannot join me today because he is still in the UK with his beautiful fiance doing UK British things. But I do have a very dear friend and guest to talk Kenobi Episode 3 with me. Brian Ballance, how are you?
Oh man, I'm good. I'm real good.
You fired up, dude?
I haven't stopped being fired up since I watched it. And
Really?
I keep rewatching it. Like I said this earlier that I don't rewatch things very often because there's so much good stuff out there and I want to see it and I'm behind on things, and I've watched it 4 times.
That sounds like you.
I can't get enough of it. It's so good. So it's just there. I'm like, I got 40 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna do that again. It's so good. Yeah, it hasn't stopped.
Yeah, let's get into Kenobi, but real quick, I mean, a lot of our followers will probably already know who you are.
No.
Yes, they do. Just some backstory for like the two that don't.
Mm-hmm.
How did we meet, Brian? Because I was thinking about that the other day. Did that start online and then we met at Star Wars Celebration?
How did we meet?
Because
I have
was
no
it
idea.
through Savannah?
Had to have been, right? You're asking the wrong guy as far as time. I have no clue.
Because I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, because I was thinking, like, who can I bring on to talk Kenobi? And you were like the first person. Like, I'm not kidding, dude. It was like, Brian. Yeah. He's like the perfect person to bring on for this show. But no, I was thinking about it the other day, and I genuinely, because I think I started talking to Savannah.
Probably.
Online.
She is my gateway to everything.
I think you interacted with me on like a post of my art.
Sounds about right.
When she interacted, and then we kind of just kicked it off. And then I met you in person at Star Wars Celebration. Was that Orlando 2017?
Yes. That sounds like the real thing. Yes. We met at Orlando.
And then we did the little Dorky Diva meetup.
About right.
I was so scared to meet you, dude. I got there because my sister she left the convention. So I went with my sister Carolyn, and she left the convention early because she was just really tired. It's a lot. And I was like, I'm going to go to this meetup thing happening at 9 p.m. in the hotel that's across from ours. She's like, okay, bye. I'm not going to that.
Enjoy.
Because I wanted to meet you guys, and I remember running over, but like sweating profusely.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, are they going to like me? Like, am I going to like them? Is it actually like, is it going to be a good thing? And I got in, and you were just like, hi, how are you? Are you good? Oh my gosh, did you enjoy like, you were so out there. I was like,
that sounds about right.
I think I'm good.
Yeah.
And actually, Savannah ran up and gave me a hug. It was the sweetest thing ever.
She's the best hugger. She's so good at it. She's taught me her ways.
That's like the short version. And I remember David was there, and you guys were really sweet and went around, and I was trying to rush pick out gifts for my siblings because I'd forgotten.
I remember that now. Yes. And because that was the first Dorky Diva show meetup that I was a part of, that I remember. Because I think Savannah did one before when it was like just her, when she was riding solo maybe. And then that was our first big like, let's do a meetup and nobody's going to come. And we were wrong. And then we did it again in Chicago. And that was, I'm still kind of digesting that. But yeah, dude, it's been that long. That's wild. That was 2017. 5 years.
5 years? 6 years?
I'm bad at math. Is it? 5?
I'm bad at math too.
17. Yeah. 5 years.
Yeah.
That's wild. Feels like longer.
Friendship.
Feels like longer.
It does.
I feel like I've known you way longer. But also, there wasn't like a seminal moment of like, we are friends now. It just sort of happened and then continued. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Time flies when you're having fun. It is, for real. Because when you find your people, that's the other thing that's really, really cool. When you can like be yourself. We've talked about this a ton of times.
Yeah.
When you can be yourself and you put out that signal and people respond to it, it's really special. And to foster that through like the Dorky Diva show and through the meetups, and like it's very, very cool and still happening. So I like it. I like it a lot.
So I'm actually going to go one step further. I swear we're going to get into Kenobi, but yes, Brian is the Brian is the co-host of the Dorky Diva show with Savannah.
Correct.
And he is also the host of his own show, The Interesting Podcast.
That's true. Those are
two
things.
I know you're going to say no, but do you want to plug yourself here for a minute? What is The Interesting Podcast about, Brian?
Okay. 'Cause I'm super good at talking about my stuff.
I know I had to put you on the spot, dude. I'm not sorry.
I appreciate
this is my show, dude.
You're right. No, I appreciate it because I don't do it by myself. And Savannah, on an almost daily basis, is just hammering it over my head, being like, "What are you doing?" So, yes, I host a show called The Interesting Podcast. It is a show where I talk to anyone whom I find interesting, from Oscar winners to FBI agents to actors, stunt people, artists. Yourself has been a previous guest, as has Savannah. That's how Savannah and I became friends. For this audience specifically, because this is a Star Wars podcast, I've had on Ahmed Best, Taylor Gray, Vanessa Marshall, Brian Sipe, Rob Coleman, just a bunch. Misty Rosas, Emily Swallow. That's off the top of my head. There's way more, but Ross, actually, you ready for the segue? Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
I had Ross Constam on, and he is Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan stunt double for the series.
What? Dude! See, this is why you guys got to listen to The Interesting Podcast. Brian talks to interesting people, and you just get to hear about their life story.
Yep, facts.
It's great. Jinx.
I'm super proud of it. I always say my favorite thing about my show is it's not about me. And I get to like hold up these people of like, oh, you enjoy that alien? Well, guess what? This is the person inside of it. And they're awesome. It's been cool. It's been really cool. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
See how good I'm getting? You see that? That was new.
That was better. That was a lot better. We are improving. We're improving one day at a time, Brian. Yeah. We're getting there. It's so good.
It took years.
But yes, I will put links to Brian's podcast in the description below so you can guys go follow him because he does do great work and it is so much fun to listen to. It's just people talking, having fun, passion projects, all that good stuff. So you guys need to follow him for sure. But we have Kenobi to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, other than the Star Wars bomb that we got last weekend, which was Star Wars Celebration, which I uploaded 12 videos in like a row to cover. I was kicking ass that weekend. No, we got the first 2 episodes last week. We got the 3rd episode this week. What do you think of the show just so far?
It's perfect.
Really?
Fist fight anyone who feels differently. It's so good. See, here's the thing. Obviously, here we go. You asked for this.
I did.
You and I, Qui-Gon's my guy. Like that has always been my hero. Obi Wan is the character I've most identified with as a person. Like, that's the guy. And I remember uploading a video to YouTube in like 2016, maybe, when there were rumors circulating that there was going to be an Obi-Wan movie. And I was like, huh. And it's just me walking in the backyard, just pacing with the news of the possibility of a rumor of an Obi-Wan series. I was like, oh, do you know what this means? If there's Obi-Wan, then the last time we saw Obi-Wan, they mentioned, oh, I'm going to teach you how to talk to Qui-Gon. There's a chance Qui-Gon will be back. And I was just like, at the end of the video, I'm just out of breath and just like, I need to lay down. And so that has just grown and grown and grown in my head to, last year or the year before, whenever it was, the time's a blur now, when Ewan McGregor, asked me if I am coming back to play Obi Wan Kenobi again. Yes, that is one of in my life story at the end, there will be pivotal moments. That's one of them. Ewan McGregor confirming he's coming back. So from that point on was like, oh my God, it's real. It's happening. But then, it's not real till you see it. It's like, okay, cool. They're making one, but don't.
Is it though?
If it's really real, I'm going to need medication to come down. Right. And so for the longest time, I was like, okay, cool. It's Kenobi. All right. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. But like, is it happening? So my expectations were through the roof. And I was like, there's no way they're going to come close. It's just not possible. I try not to, as best I can, speculate too hard into future stuff, because in the past I've just burned myself. Be like, oh, I think this is what they're going to do. They don't do it. And then I'm mad. But they never said they were going to do that. I just came up with a theory. And, it's like we're stabbing ourselves.
Yeah, you project.
Yeah. And then when they don't do it, you're upset. And it's like, nobody said they were going to do that. So it's weird Aurora Boreas thing going on. So again, expectations being through the roof. And I saw the first 2 episodes and I was like, oh my God, I can't. They did it. They did it. They did it exactly what I wanted. I wanted a character piece. I wanted to see Obi-Wan as a man going through what he went through. What does that do to a person? And then the 3rd episode comes out. So 1 and 2
it was
show
all
up.
fun and games.
1 and 2 show up, and I was like, okay, all right, you gave me what I wanted. That is just, I can't believe it. Then episode 3 comes out. Ironically, episode 3, which is my favorite movie of all time.
Right?
Episode 3 comes out. And it may be my favorite piece of Star Wars since episode 3 came out.
Really?
It hit everything. It was the intrigue, the scariness, the spies, the change of character, who's good, who's bad, and then just the imagery of which we'll get into, I'm sure, like the parallels of how Obi-Wan left Anakin, how Vader is looking at Obi-Wan. I mean, it exceeded anything I ever could have dreamed. And I remember talking to Savannah about this before when it comes out. And, everyone, that was like the topic, right? What do you want in the Kenobi series? What are you looking forward to? What's that? And I remember on one of the other shows, but somebody was asking me about it. And I remember saying, I don't want Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine. That was like my big thing. Because I was like, what could possibly take his eyes off of Luke? He's a Jedi Knight who has one last job. His entire identity is based around protecting this boy. And it never in a million years occurred to me that Leia, something could have happened with her. Just like it's so obvious, but gun to my head, would never have thought, well, what if something happened to Leia? And it's genius. So to see her get kidnapped and Obi-Wan to be like, oh, yeah, there's 2 of them. And Bail, it's perfect. So when I got to episode 3, I'm so turned. Like, this is the condensed, like, I'm sure in about 5 minutes I'm going to be flying.
Off the rails.
But it's perfect. It exceeded every expectation I had, and they were already super high. And as an Obi-Wan Qui-Gon super fan, there's no way they were going to hit what I needed them to. And by God, did they. I love it. I love it. How do you feel? Because Obi-Wan's your guy.
Yeah, so Qui-Gon is to Brian as Obi-Wan is to me.
Yeah.
Which is, I've always loved that character because across all Star Wars media, I have never seen a version of him that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Or I felt like wasn't consistent with the character. I mean, Alec Guinness, legend, formed that role, acted it as if he had all the knowledge of what had already happened to the character when he was originating it. And then we go to the prequels. I don't know how they cast Ewan McGregor. Like, that was like maybe perfect casting. I like goldmine that never happens. So he was perfect casting. And then you go to the Clone Wars with James Earl Taylor, and I'm yep, that's still Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And you get into Rebels, and every iteration I've seen of the character has felt completely consistent with who this guy is, which I think is one of the greatest things that Star Wars has ever done. Also, he's just good.
Yeah.
For goodness sake, like he's had all these, arguably, Obi-Wan might be the one character in Star Wars that has suffered the most and lost the most.
Yeah.
But despite that, he still remains a good moral character. And that's so like attractive to me, just in terms of character writing, is people who go through the worst kind of stuff, but they don't allow it to taint their who they are at their core or how they interact with the world, even though that they struggle. And so to get a show on Obi-Wan that kind of comments on that very idea, where it's like, hey, he lost everything. He lost Anakin, he lost Padme, he lost Satine. You could like the list goes on of people who were in his life and then taken away. And he's grieving and he's suffering, but in this show, he still chooses to answer the call to do the right thing, despite being afraid. And I'm just like, yes, 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 this is it. This is the epitome of the character, his goodness, his morality, the reason people love him so much. And so I was just like, the first 2 episodes kicked off, I was like sweating. I was so nervous. And you get into it. Like I'm not kidding. Like that's the one character. That's the one character I would be so upset if they screwed that up, because you just can't come back from that. And everybody loves Obi-Wan. That's like a universal kind of love. So I thought the first 2 episodes were a really strong setup. I think a lot of people were complaining that the first episode was super slow, but I was like, but you need that.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be slow. What do you think he's doing? Do you think he's like throwing raves every night in his little cave on Tatooine? No, his life is boring.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's mundane. He's going through the notions. And I totally agree with what you said on Leia. The only way they could get him off Tatooine is if Leia was in danger. Yeah. And even then, he doesn't really want to go. He's like, I am not the same guy. And then Bail comes through and he's like, hey, I know you're depressed, but get up and go. That's my kid. Like,
I love it so much.
So, I know, dude. I know. And so I thought the first 2 episodes were such a strong setup. And then the third episode just... emotional damage.
Yeah.
So
dark.
I mean, I don't want to linger too much on like the first 2 episodes, but you know, with that in mind, Brian, like take it away, man. I know you're dying to talk, so let's talk about anywhere you want in the third episode. What hit you?
I mean, come on. It opens with Obi-Wan calling out to Qui-Gon.
Okay, can we actually talk about this real quick?
Yes, we can.
I love that everyone has been theorizing for months prior to Kenobi coming out. Qui-Gon has to be in this show. Has to be. Like there's you cannot not put him in this show. And I love that the first episode essentially said, yes, he will be in this show. Like it was like there were no coverings. It was like, voila, here is what Obi-Wan's trying to do. He can't do it yet, but Qui-Gon is coming, which amazing. Like, I love that they addressed that right away and they confirmed that. But yes, he does start off trying to commune with Qui-Gon. So let's just talk about that.
I mean, see, even that, like I said, when I get so excited, so the last time we saw Obi-Wan, minus handing off Luke to the homestead, was Yoda saying, I'm going to teach you to commune with your old master, right? So it's like, all right, I still have not allowed myself to believe we're actually going to get Qui-Gon, because I could not handle the level of disappointment, right? Just like if I sell in, I'm all or nothing, baby. You know, there's no moderation here. The irony that my last name is Ballance is not lost on me. There's none. I have a yin yang tattoo. There's no balance to be found when it comes to Star Wars and the Jedi specifically. And just the idea that Obi-Wan has been 10 years. Like, he even didn't use the Force right away because he like forgot how. He was rusty to catch Leia, right? So the idea that, I actually need some help. We're getting back into this. We're into the swing. We grab Leia. So this episode starts with coming right off the heels of learning Anakin is still alive, which is one of the biggest moments in Star Wars ever, because the last time he saw Anakin, he was burning alive. So he thought, and has thought for a decade, he was dead. So you've had to live with the fact that not only did you fail your master in training the boy, you failed your best friend, your brother, and you had to leave him for dead in a horrific, painful way. So you had to live with that for the next 10 years. And then to find out he's still alive. That is terrifying. So with him starting like, hey, Qui-Gon, listen, he's coming. He's on his way. Like, is there anything scarier than they're coming? No, there's not. Especially when you're an out-of-practice old Jedi Master and Darth Vader's coming with your name. Terrifying. So I think Deborah Chow's a genius. I mean, she directed some of the best episodes of TV so far, and that was before Kenobi. So the way that she shoots stuff and really gets into Obi-Wan's head and like as a human being, like, what is this like? Leia's in the bank, you're in a transport, and just the idea of literally every scene. I love everything about this. Like explaining what the Force is.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful way to be like, it's safe. That's what it is. Like,
that was a perfect analogy too for a child.
Yeah, it makes
when you're
total
scared of the
sense.
dark, what do? You turn on the light and you feel safe. Like, I got to watch these episodes with my dad. And my dad like paused the episode. He goes, "What a beautiful way to explain that to a kid."
Yeah.
And it's easy to understand. But then the look Obi-Wan gives her after saying that, he just like, he smiles, fixes Lola, gives Lola back, and then he just kind of, the smile fades away, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's still going through it. So like, I Obi-Wan, like you mentioned, has lost more than arguably everyone. Well, I mean, Leia lost a whole planet and has been fighting her whole life. So they're two sides of the same sad coin. And with Obi-Wan to go through all of that personal suffering and everything that is going on, but to be able to not allow it to affect how he is treating Leia.
Yep.
In this scene specifically, because he knows this is a really important moment. It does come out because he's still a human being. There's later when Leia's like, oh, we could just wait. And he's like, they're not coming. Not everyone is all good. Like, he's still a person, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
I've always admired characters like that. Like, that's why I love Iroh so much, because they're characters that are suffering, that have grief, but refuse to allow it to affect how they treat others as best that they can. Is so powerful. And it's just such a sweet moment, because Obi-Wan's whole universe just crumbled 5 minutes ago, learning that Anakin's still alive. But he still has this really tender moment with Leia, because she doesn't know. And he doesn't need to be like, oh, by the way, here's everything. And it's like, no, she's just looking for like a little bit of comfort here. And he's also coming to terms with the fact that he's still Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because he's not there yet. He's still Ben. So we're kind of getting a little, dipping the toes in a little bit. Now he's talking about the Force and like, what does it actually feel like? And he's like, oh yeah, that was the old me who was into that.
It's a beautiful moment. It's a really beautiful moment. And I just, again, I'll jump into this, but his consistent kindness towards Leia, as just knowing that she's this little girl and he has all this knowledge. Like, he knew her mother, he knew her father, he knows what her father is, but he has to privately carry that grief. Yeah. That's not something that he can just unload on a 10-year-old.
No. And I'm sure to a certain degree, he feels at fault.
Absolutely.
So it's not even just the events themselves, it's his responsibility for those events.
So we get to the Joshua Tree planet, which so I really like this episode, but this is the one thing I'm going to bag on.
Let's go.
I did not like that it looked like something in like real life. I didn't like that it looked like, because I literally like, they get out of the ship and I went, they're in Joshua Tree in California.
Okay.
And so I got out, and this is probably like one of the few things I'm going to criticize.
Don't worry. I'm the apologist
here. But it did
here.
not feel super Star Warsy to me. And so it kind of took me out of it.
Understandable.
Where I was like, I think I would have preferred something, that, what's the name of the planet that they're on in Mandalorian where Din Djarin and what's his face go to save Grogu, and he's in
Navarro?
No, not Navarro.
Nope.
The one where they go to rescue the kid and he's with Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. Oh, yes.
On that foresty looking planet?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right? I really like that planet. Like, it just felt like, it kind of felt Indiana Jonesy Star Wars, which I really liked a lot. And so I thought that they were going to go in a direction with that. But I think the fact that it looked so much like a place I know really well, it bothered me because I was like, oh, don't like that a lot. But again, minor. But then as they're walking on the planet, this got me, dude. Obi-Wan has a force vision. Or I don't know if it's a force vision.
Yeah.
But
he has a PTSD episode.
He has a PTSD episode where he's standing, and I love that Deborah Chow does this, is when Obi-Wan's having his little force moments, she tilts the camera.
Little Dutch angle going on.
Yep. And she zooms in. And so it kind of like, and they do this later in the episode, and what is another one of my favorite scenes, but they tilt the camera and we see Obi-Wan getting a glimpse of Anakin Skywalker as he remembers him on Mustafar in episode 3. The classic Anakin's holding his arms against his chest. He's got the angry furrowed brow, and he's looking like very episode 3 Anakin. And when I first saw this, the first thing that went through my head is I had to like go like that because I was like, is that actually Anakin? I was like, is that actually or is this Palpatine? Like, what are we seeing here?
Yeah.
And it was, I couldn't tell. But what did you think? Did you think that was a Force vision? Because I almost felt like it was like the Force trying to warn Obi-Wan. Like I felt like it was like his trauma coming through for sure, but almost foreshadowing that Anakin is coming to that planet, aka Darth Vader, to hunt him. So I kind of took that as like there's a little bit of foreshadowing here going on, and Obi-Wan feels that disturbance. So what did you think of that?
I agree with half of what you said. The first half, I think it was, whichever one it was that said that's his trauma manifesting. Like when you're scared and you start seeing shapes, you know, like he knows Anakin's coming, so he's starting to see him in places. So like just the effects on the mind, you know, Obi-Wan's going through it, and also they just are looking for coordinates. He doesn't trust the guy. He goes, I mean, if he was telling the truth, and Leia's like, he was. Don't worry about it, and no patience, you know. This is my Leia impression.
This is his Leia impression.
Yeah.
We're just gonna lift our shoulders
just
and
a little
ho-hum.
Walk. Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll hitch a ride, you know.
Leia's just it's such a good combo of Padme and Anakin.
Oh, for real.
It's very Clone Warsy.
Agreed.
In execution with her dialogue. Very Clone Wars. But anyway, Obi-Wan has his PTSD episode.
He does.
I'm so sad for him. That was like the first knife to the heart. And then Obi-Wan and Leia find a car transport thing going through Joshua Tree with Freck. Is that character's name?
It
Freck.
is.
Frickin' Freck.
Mole nose
Little
guy.
mole character. That was interesting. I actually laughed.
Yeah.
So we do reaction videos on the channel. I laughed because I was like, this is so Muppety.
Yeah.
In execution, which is fine. It's good. It's all practical and whatever, but it made me laugh. And I was like, where's Jim Henson?
Yeah. Yeah.
So frickin' Freck.
Frickin' Freck.
Frickin' Freck.
Ferret.
Dank Ferrick Freck. So frickin' Freck is a fan of the Empire. So Obi-Wan and Leia hitch a ride. You know, Freck's asking them all kinds of questions, and Obi-Wan's clearly uncomfortable, and he's like, this is not a good idea. And Leia's just kind of pulling an Anakin, being like, well, it's the only plan we have.
You look at that little girl, you're like, that 100% makes sense that she would grow up to be Leia.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like, it rubbed me the wrong way at first, but like, I think it's because I wasn't... Like, you don't process in your head, I think, when you start these episodes, what you're supposed to be feeling. You're trying to catch on to all these different
100%.
things that the episode's trying to include. And so, like, the first time I saw it, it felt really weird. But on the second and third watch of just, like, the overall show so far, I was like, yep, that's exactly how Anakin and Padme's daughter would talk. That's exactly how she would treat Obi-Wan. She would bully him relentlessly. Like, it feels very true to Leia.
When he came into the cell, she hit him when he came into the cell to rescue her.
Right. Oh my God. And that reminded me of Clone Wars. That was so Clone Warsy in execution, because Anakin literally does the same thing in like season 1 of Clone Wars.
It's right there.
That whole dynamic, I think, is very, very sweet. But when they're riding in the transport, I got to talk about this because I've been thinking about this ever since. You know, they have a cover story. What did she say that Obi-Wan's fake name is? Orin?
And her name's Luma.
Luma, yeah.
They're farmers from Tall.
Yeah. And he accidentally calls her Leia right in front of the stormtroopers, but then he quickly covers it up. And he said, sometimes when I look at Leia, I see her mother's face. And I was like, not only do they make you feel Anakin's presence throughout all these episodes, they really make you feel Padme's.
Yeah.
And
a lot.
I would just like to give a shout out here to the writers for doing that. Because in the past, I've been like a little bit annoyed at the lack of, well, I'm not going to say a little bit, a lot annoyed at the lack of Padme mentions at all.
Yeah, totally.
Because she was such an integral part of the prequels and in Anakin's story and Obi-Wan's life. Like, she was really good friends with both of them. Yeah. And throughout these first 3 episodes, they really make a point to show that Obi-Wan feels really guilty and he feels a responsibility to Padme because they were friends. and he's sad that like they lost her and now her children have to grow up without like their biological mother. It's touching, but it's heart-wrenching. And
Yeah.
so for Obi-Wan to throw in these comments like, oh, you remind me of someone, she was a leader, and then going into when I look at Leia, I see her mother's face. It adds so much more weight, and it's basically like telling the audience like he loved Padme just as much as he loved Anakin.
100%.
And the weight of both of those people in his life bears so heavily on his shoulders that it's making it hard for him to have to move on, because he sees Luke every single day, and now he's in charge of this little girl, the daughter of his best friend. So I just think that's a really nice touch.
I agree. And like, we went through with him. We saw the prequels. We know exactly what happened. And I remember when I had a physical reaction when he said Leia, because I was watching, it's like, all right, cool. This is good. This is really good. The second he said Leia, I was like, oh no, did he just, and it was the perfect recovery. I mean, absolutely genius. Like, oh, it's been really hard. I get confused. Also, ouch. And they're geniuses. Whoever's writing the show, all of you, just incredible work, because it's so layered. And it's like, if you've never seen the prequels, you still get an idea of what's going on. You're not confused. But if you have tiny nods like that, I mean, and also I love how Leia she is. Like she sees through everything. She's looking at him and is like, you knew my mom. Like, since the moment we met, there's been something. What's going on? Like she's Leia. And to get these little moments and the tension of the stormtroopers, and like they're looking for Obi-Wan. They're not looking for any Jedi. They're looking for him. His face is everywhere. They're all point bulletins. They John Wicked him in episode 2. Everyone's cell phone is like, have you seen this guy? And he looks just like that. It's incredible. And yeah, then Freck's loyalties are shown. And
freaking Freck, I hate this guy. Like,
it's so good.
Oh, like, he annoyed me so much.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah, and the emotional range, I think, in that particular sequence, from the time where they get on to where they're talking and then they get off, is there's a lot of like in between moments there that just make you go, oh my goodness. I do want to go back to Leia here for a sec.
Yeah, please.
I think I've like gotten now what they're trying to do with her, which is, so how in the original trilogy they kind of show you that the way she experiences the Force is very different from Luke.
Right.
Like Luke is very much like a direct user of the Force, like lifting things, rocks. Fighting with like other people. Like he's been well trained by Obi-Wan and Yoda. Correct. Whereas like Leia's only just beginning to truly understand how much power she has. But I think something I really like about this show is they're showing us that the way the Force resonates in Leia is that she's very intuitive.
Yeah.
And she can call people out on their feelings on stuff, the way she calls out her snitchy little gross cousin.
Yeah.
Or I hate that kid. I hate that kid. Same. But the way she calls him out, the way she calls Obi-Wan out, and she's like, you think the less you say, the less you give away, but actually it's the opposite. Being like super well worded for her age, the way she kind of challenges her parents on Alderaan. And when she's sitting there and she's looking at Obi-Wan, she goes, you knew my mother. I take that as that's like just the Force being that strong in Leia. That's her way of like recognizing and going, I feel something. Like I know there's something else going on here. And so she's kind of been onto him the entire time. And then, like, she doesn't have it quite correctly, but then when she goes on to say to Obi-Wan, are you my real father? Which, by the way, like, kill me.
Yeah.
Just murder me dead. God, that is how the Force is connecting to her, and that's how she experiences it in life. It's just like she's able to catch on to things, and she's able to recognize like there's something else going on here. Yeah. So I think I don't want to say like it's mind reading, but it's just like this heightened awareness. So I really do like that attention to detail to her character.
I agree. I totally agree. And the Force manifests differently for untrained people as well. I think Ezra didn't start training until he was, a teenager. He had the Force in him that whole time. But until Kanan showed up and was like, oh, there's something here, kind of fostered it in the same way that Leia's Force fostered by Luke. After 6 was like, I'm going to train you to do the same way because you have the same thing I do.
Mhm.
But it is interesting where like they don't even know they're doing it. But
Yeah.
there is an intuitiveness. There is an intuition of that's why she's so good at like reading people and staying one step ahead. And like she's so smart. And
Mhm.
she runs the rebellion for forever. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool
It
to see it
is.
from such a young age that she's always been herself. It's
Yeah, I
very
really
cool.
like that. What did you think of? Okay, you got to tell me this, dude. I haven't had
I
time to
will.
look it up, but
Yeah.
you have a lot of Star Wars knowledge, right? So
Okay. Arguable.
Obi-Wan mentions to
Yeah.
Leia, he says, in another super sweet moment where he's relating to her and
Mhm.
she's like, I wish I knew what my real father was like. And then
Right.
Obi-Wan goes, I understand, as Jedi we're taken from our families when we're very young.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then he talks about remembering his mother's shawl, his father's
Mhm.
hands, which sounds like
Mhm.
something out of a poetry book.
Right.
Loved
Yep.
that dialogue.
Yeah.
And then he says, I remember a baby. I think I had a brother.
Uh-huh.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
wasn't there something in the EU where Obi-Wan had a brother? Because it sounded familiar when I heard it. I was like, I swear that this was pulled from old canon,
Sure.
but I don't know for sure because I didn't read a lot of the EU.
Sure. So I'm wrong all the time. I'll say that up front. But in one of the original, I think novels, I think it might have been the original novel for episode 4, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I think Owen was his brother in like a first draft. Like Uncle Owen was Obi-Wan's brother at one point. Yeah.
Really?
I'm almost positive. Yeah.
I'm gonna fact check this when we're done.
By all means, but I'm almost positive that there was a draft somewhere where Owen and Obi-Wan were brothers. Yeah, that's imagine what that would have been like.
That would have been way more tense.
Yeah. There's I'm actually glad that Obi-Wan talked about like they're taken from their families when they're very young, because there was an entire comic series in the old EU where people hated the Jedi because they called them baby snatchers. Because what would happen is there would be Jedi in the temple that would just sense out into the Force and try to find Force-sensitive kids. And they would show up to the families and be like, hey, listen, your child's Force-sensitive. And they wouldn't kidnap them, but they'd be like, hey, if you give us your child, we'll train it in the ways of the Force. It'll be an amazing Jedi Knight and it can help the galaxy. And there were people that were not cool with that. But that's why in episode 1, they mentioned that if Anakin was born closer to Coruscant, they would have identified him earlier. But because he was so far away, and with Palpatine there mucking up the Force and everything, it was a thing. But yeah, I like that he mentioned that. Like, yeah, he had a family. It was like he was a baby when they took him, because that's how all Jedi were. Like, I mean, Qui-Gon was born in Coruscant. He got taken. Like, all the Jedi were raised in the temple, which we saw in the opening of the first episode, which was heartbreakingly dark. But episode 2, Yoda training the younglings, they all grew up in the temple. So it's just, I don't know, it's a neat little, just that sentence has so much history to it. We're like, all right, yeah, Obi-Wan grew up in the Jedi temple. Like, that's who he is.
It was kind of sad, too, to hear him be like, I was taken from my family, and then I got a new family, and God bless, I could gush about Ewan's acting for forever, because he is
phenomenal.
He's so subtle in his acting. Like, he doesn't have to do too much to really get you to feel what Obi-Wan's going through in these moments. But when he says, and then I got a new family, he kind of like, he takes like a deep breath.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and then your new family was killed.
Yeah, I know. This. Everyone.
I hate this. I hate it, but it hurts so good.
It
hurts so good. And I really like that they threw that in there, because it's not like you have to delve into Obi-Wan's history of what planet he grew up on, or what the personalities of his family members were, but just to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, he had a family before he was taken, and then his other family was brutally murdered by his best friend. So it's just chef's kiss.
Agreed.
It's very well done.
And so like we said, like not allowing the pain, your pain, to influence how you talk to other people, right? So Obi-Wan, if he was at effect of his own personal pain, when he remembers, oh, I had a new family, he could have broke there. But instead he said, I got a new family, like you did. You got a new family. You have a family now. So, I may not be your birth father. You may not have known your birth mother, but you do have a family. And it turns this whole other thing where it's just, I love it. And that was another epiphany I had recently, rewatching these, was the through line of adoption within Star Wars.
Yes.
I never thought about it, because George Lucas, his kids were adopted. So I was like, oh, what a cool thing. And then Luke was adopted by his aunt and uncle. Leia was adopted by the Organas. I was like, this is very cool, actually. I never put those together. It's very interesting.
It is really cool that kind of, I mean, most, if not all these families in Star Wars are pretty much like adoptive found families.
It's
cool.
cool.
You think about like Star Wars Rebels, or you think about like Ahsoka's whole journey. Like her family was like Obi-Wan, Anakin, Rex, Padme, the clones. Like that was her new family. And so I feel like that's like a thread that's been consistent as well, which is the found family trope.
I love it.
Which is great. I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of that either.
I won't.
It's just it's just a nice little fuzzy thing.
I've lived it. I can tell it is fantastic. Highly recommend. Yep.
I'm trying to think what else. Oh, this made me laugh. The Inquisitors are like mean girls. Can we talk about this for a second?
Yeah.
They are so cliquey, dude.
I love it.
Like, in the first 2 episodes, all the Inquisitors essentially treat Reva like, you can't sit with us. Like, that's how they treat her. And it's so funny. And then they have this really hilarious dynamic between the 5th brother and Reva. And the 5th brother and Reva have just been going at it, and everybody else is in between because, you know, they're fighting for the position of Grand Inquisitor. Who, by the way, is not dead.
There's no way he's dead.
There is no way that
everyone
character is
needs
dead.
to calm down. Like, just be patient. We're 3 episodes in. Right?
Well, here's the thing. I got scared for a second. I was like, and then I thought about it. And I was like, there's no way in heck Dave Filoni would let that happen.
No.
It's like, it won't.
Anakin lost his limbs. Darth Maul got cut in half. We can get stabbed. All right? We're fine.
So I just think it's not an important part of the episode, but they are mean girls. And it makes me laugh because you can't sit with us.
Yeah.
Like,
I love it. He's my favorite. Actually, I'm going to call him. Yeah,
I'm going to call Vader first. It's just, oh my God. Did you see what I posted on my Instagram story? It was like the 5th brother, like Darth Vader said I could play with the Xbox.
That's what it's like. But that's what it is. That's the whole thing of like when you're only out for yourself, when you're only ambitious, when it's only about one-upping the other, which is the whole tradition of the Sith, right? Mm-hmm. The Inquisitors, that's their whole deal. So it's so fun to see it. You know what I mean? Like, Reva just to be like, I will murder every single one of you because I want to sit in that seat. It's like, yeah, they should all be like that. Like, Sith are not these, like, cool, calculating people. No, that's Palpatine. And then his prodigy, enforcer, Vader. Everyone else is expendable. They're just people who are trying to get the gold star from teacher. And we're seeing it. And it's great. It's great.
It is cool, too, like, having that little scene with Vader and Reva in the beginning where he's like, hey, I know what you want, but if you fail me, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Which I love, which is just peak Vader. He's like, you can have this, but just be aware, if you fail me in any way, I'm going to end your life.
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, that's Vader. That's exactly how that should go down. Yeah. And the Inquisitors just want the next highest position. But it is interesting, too, because we still don't quite know what's going on with Reva.
I know. And it's personal. It's very personal.
She's got something against Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Specifically. Yeah. It's not like the other Jedi. She doesn't care about those. Specifically Obi-Wan. Something, I don't know what it is. There's something there. So I love watching these things with Monique because she's not like a super fan like we are. Like she's seen all the movies. She's never seen any of the animated shows. And so she's only seen... I know, right? So she's only seen all the movies, and then now, you know, Mando, Boba Fett, and Kenobi. And I love watching it with her because it's such a different perspective. Because like you said, I agree with you, that when we watch it the first time, we're like laser focused. Oh, what's that? What's that carving? What's this thing? What's he holding? We're putting all these things in our head. We're not actually watching it. We're just looking for the things that we're supposed to see. And then the second time, we actually watch it. And I've been that way every time I've seen a movie in theaters. I'm just like, okay, cool, yeah. All right, yeah, I know that ship. Okay, that's from this. And oh, cool, yeah, that's the reference. That's the remote. Cool. And then the second time, I can relax and be like, this is a pretty fun movie, actually. Like, why am I doing that? I gotta figure that out. I need to stop doing that. But with Monique, she has no context. Her first time ever seeing Ahsoka was in Mando.
Really?
Imagine.
How do you miss her up
because she's never seen Clone Wars. She's never seen Rebels. So when she's watching Mandalorian, this Jedi shows up and she's orange. She's got these things. And Monique was like, oh. So I love asking her, be like, so what do you think of her? How's it like? That's Anakin's Padawan. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah, for like years. And I love getting her perspective because it's entirely unbiased and totally new. And we watched episode 3 right before Kenobi came out, just for her to refresh. Me, I just close my eyes and I can see it. It's always on loop. And in that scene specifically, Monique, when Vader said, exactly as you said, like, I know that if you succeed, the Grand Inquisitor position is yours, but if you fail me, you won't live to regret it. Monique out loud said, oh, it's really sad Anakin talks like that now. And I was like, oh, ow.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Such a different, because I'm like, that's Darth Vader, right? We're looking at it from a totally different perspective, as in Vader as a whole. We just watched Anakin in episode 3. So she's seeing like, that's really sad. Like, wow, that to hear him talk like that. And I was like, yikes. That's good.
It's so awful.
Yeah.
It's so awful because you know what they did in this episode that I don't think we've ever seen in Star Wars is they really showed you Anakin and Vader are the same person.
Yeah.
And we haven't really, up until this point, they've kept them very separate.
Yep.
In Rogue One, you get like a 5 seconds of a shot of Anakin's scarred up body. It's not very long. It's very, very short. Yep. But in this episode, they really, like, they show you shots of Hayden's face as Vader before they put the mask down, or they show his body parts being like turned off and on and like, and then assembling him. And so they really did a great job of just, again, driving the knife through the heart and saying that, yeah, this is the same guy. This is the worst nightmare and the worst truth about Vader, that he was once a good man. Yeah. And it's just like, I can't watch. I told my best friend the other day, I was like, I can't watch Clone Wars right now. Yeah. Like, I'm so upset by this. Yeah. Like, it really bothers me. Like, I don't like thinking that someone so good could have this terrible fall from grace. Yeah. And to see them kind of like rubbing the salt in the wound in this third episode is just, God, it's awful. But I mean, I guess this is a good segue, but can we just talk about Vader for a second in this episode?
Yes, we can.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. I don't even know where to start, dude. I mean, there are so many things I want to talk about in this episode, but like, he snapped a kid's neck.
He murdered people for fun.
And
they weren't
made Obi Wan watch.
Yeah. He pulled them out of their house to kill them because he could. They weren't doing anything. They weren't even talking. He dragged that woman because he could. Terrifying. I remember as a kid being so scared of Darth Vader, like genuinely terrified. So people like, Vader's my favorite character. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go over here. It's terrifying. And then nobody would ever talk about him like I had envisioned him until Rogue One happened. And I was like, this is Vader right here. You're in a hallway and he's holding the door closed so he can murder all of you and then that's terrifying. And holy God, in this episode, they showed it for real. He's rampaging. That's it. He's in pain. He's suffering, and he's just an explosion burning everyone in the vicinity, just because. It's so scary.
I could not believe, like how we've been reiterating. The first time you're watching, you're not really watching. I didn't catch the neck snap until the second watch, and I saw it, and I was like, I thought he did it to the dad, but he did it to the kid.
Yeah. I mean.
That was so dark. And then he continues to kill the father and then drag that lady. He did that to show Obi-Wan, I'm not Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
There is no chance of talking to me. I am out for blood and revenge, and I will hurt you as bad as you hurt me. I don't know. There are like no words to describe.
No, there's not. Because it gets worse.
It gets so much worse. It's worse. It gets so much worse.
It's just, what an entrance. Just when you think the Rogue One entrance is like, oh, that's like the most terrifying Vader we're going to get. It's like, ooh, hold my beer. Watch this. Like, at least in Rogue One, he was in a hallway with a bunch of rebel troopers. They all had blasters on him. They were shooting at him. It's like, okay, yeah, we're in a battle. There was no battle. Some guy just happened to be looking out the window, and Vader's like, that's good enough.
That's good enough.
Oh, and your kid's coming because I've upset him because I killed his dad? Let's go see him. And then this, I mean, just horrifying. Vader's so scary. And we really got to see him just for the sake of being evil. walk down the street, just murder innocent people. Like, dear God.
I mean, talk
so
about worst nightmares. 10 top worst nightmares. Do you know that scene in the episode where Obi-Wan Obi-Wan's okay. So two things.
Yeah.
One, the shot where you know what I'm talking about. The shot
Uh-huh.
where Obi-Wan comes into the frame and Vader's standing there and his lightsaber's ignited and he's like, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan takes one look at him and then runs out of the frame.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that is Obi-Wan knows that he sucks right now. He knows that Vader's not playing. And so he's like, nope, gonna run. Yeah. And I laughed because I was like, legit same dude.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's the first time he's ignited his lightsaber in a decade. Vader's been training for this exact moment for 10 years, just stewing. Like, oh, you're not going to win, dude.
And
run.
Obi-Wan goes,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. Yeah, no. It's horrifying. It's so scary.
I really liked that moment, though. I thought that was an appropriate reaction.
Oh,
I was like, that's exactly what he would have done. Also, 100%. Vader only using one hand to fight Obi-Wan. That's peak Vader. Yeah. And Obi-Wan struggling to hold his own. But just like that entire fight scene, like, what did you think of that in particular where, Vader's hammering at him?
Loved it. Because Vader's toying with him. He's not.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's not, and he even said, like, which we'll get to, as he's dragging him, he even says, like, oh, your suffering is just beginning. Like, he's not trying to kill Obi-Wan. He's peppering him up. This is like a teaser. Obi-Wan's fighting for his life, and Vader's like, oh, no. I've waited for this for so long. This specific moment. And bringing Monique back into it, when he was fighting him, and he's one-handed just going at him, Monique's like, well, this isn't fair. What's going on? It's like, I know, right? I know. It just the presence that Vader has, the physical. I mean, he's like a foot taller than Obi-Wan, one-handed, just like it is full on rage and emotion. But it's scarier than that because it's a controlled rage. It's pointed. It's not a rage of like just going and saying like unlimited power, just lightning out of your fingers. It's like I'm just gonna beat the mess out of you and then take you back and peel you to pieces. Like. It's insane. I loved that they decided to do it at night. I think, by the way, so much scarier.
The effects of the lightsabers were great.
Yeah, killed it
in that entire battle too. Just like the way it sounded different, but like a good different, and how brightly it was reflecting off of everything around them.
Yeah,
Obi-Wan's face, Vader's face, that clash together, looking very, very purple. It was. There's some new effects in there, but they looked really good.
Well, the lightsabers are different now, because in the originals they were like aluminum rods with like tape on them so that they could rotoscope the blades, whereas now they actually light up, like you see some FX sabers and stuff. So that's not.
They didn't even do that in the prequel trilogy.
No, they didn't have that technology at the time.
Oh, right. Wow. Yeah, well, I bet they were both nerding out even more.
Oh, for sure.
And I totally,
no way you can't.
I totally get you. And now when he was saying Vader scared the bejesus out of me.
Imagine
where he's like, he turned around and Vader's, oh shit.
Like, yeah. No, for real. It'd be so scary.
And at night, gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's like every nerd's dream. Right there.
I would also run for my life.
So we do get to that fight scene, and God, we haven't talked about Tala yet, but we'll get to her.
Oh, she's
cool. She's very cool. Yeah. I like her a lot.
Yeah.
But we get to, God, I would just like to say, how many years did Anakin just lay in his little bed at night, being like, "This is exactly what I'm going to do to Obi-Wan the second I meet back up with him." Like
100%.
He has thoroughly planned this out, which I just think is so petty of him, and I love it.
Oh yeah,
I love it. It's just like peak Anakin behavior, which I think is hilarious. But oh my God, I don't know if you watch our reaction videos, but the second Vader said, "You will suffer, Obi-Wan," he lights the fire on the ground with his lightsaber and then throws Obi-Wan into the fire. I screamed.
Yeah.
Because it's like, so. I was expecting like a bit of a dogfight, like a, they're just going at each other with their lightsabers. And then he drags Obi-Wan slowly through the fire, and Obi-Wan's screaming. And you're like, this is like the worst kind of poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah.
George Lucas moment ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are no words.
Shocked. as well. I mean, you don't think he's going to throw him in the fire? There's no way. You know what happens when people go into fires? They die. There's no. Yeah, same. And then drag it. It's so dark. It's so dark, and slowly and like, oh dear God. And he's saying like, this is the beginning. This is a taste. Like he's not going to kill him. He's just going to burn him real bad.
No,
like
that's even scarier.
Him. Yeah.
He's preheating him.
Yeah.
He's preheating him.
Yeah. It's so scary. Yeah.
He's microwaving him.
He is. He's loosening him up a little bit for the bake. And just, it was one of those things. This is what I mean about the writing being perfect. Because what better way for Vader and Obi-Wan to come face to face again after a decade than for Vader to drag Obi-Wan through fire. Whoever wrote that is an evil genius. There's nothing better. There's nothing better you could have done. Get 1,000 people in a room to write the return, the reuniting of Anakin and Obi-Wan, of Vader and Ben. Nobody will come up with a better idea than that. It's genius. And the way they shot it was so scary. And then the fact that Vader like put the fire out to be like, all right, now go get him. That's like, I had my fun for now, but we're just getting started. Like, that's so scary. So you just got to sit with that. Like, what is he going to do? Like, oh God, I'm 100% powerless. That's like next level mind warfare for Vader to be like, let's start with stage 1, dragging him through the fire. So scary. So scary.
Terrifying. And I love what you said I just love what you said about him toying with him. Vader is the hunter.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's the prey, but he's not gonna like take him out in one go because that's not fun. He's like, no. I've been a robot man for the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you suffer as much as I have in these last 10 years. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Maul killing Satine in front of Obi-Wan.
Yes. 100%.
Because Maul's like, hey, you made me suffer when you cut off the lower half of my body and I was in the trash for how long? Like 20 years or so?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Ooh.
And he's like, but I'm not going to kill you. I just want to make you hurt as badly as I hurt. Which is the scarier kind of revenge because then death seems like a mercy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I loved it. But it was so terrifying.
Yeah.
And just how hauntingly poetic it is to have Obi-Wan being dragged through the fire the same way that Anakin was dragged through the lava 10 years prior.
Yeah.
It's great writing. It's great writing.
It's perfect. I'll die on that hill. Whoever came, I don't know your name specifically, but whoever threw this idea out, I hate you and I love you. You're a genius.
Somebody goes, what's the most perfect way we can have Vader torment Obi-Wan? Ooh, drag him through fire.
Yeah. Have him do what he did. Like, it's so much. It's perfect.
But I do want to touch on Tala a little bit because we didn't really touch on her.
Great. We got excited. Vader showed up and we're like, yeah.
Vader showed up and I don't think we were actually, before we get to Tala real quick, I am just so happy for Hayden Christensen.
Same.
The dude is living every kid's dream right now. I mean, not only did he get to create the role of Anakin Skywalker and act that out and show the man before the monster, but now he gets to play the man as the monster.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, didn't he have a coach? I think I saw in the credits he had a coach for how to move like Vader.
He did.
I think there was something like that. You should also get that person on
I'm
talk on your show because that's a really just a cool thing in general.
Talks for the guy in the suit. We'll see.
Oh,
little spoiler, little thingy.
You heard it here first.
Little spice of the future. May or may not be looking into some stuff. If you're into that kind of stuff, you know.
Do you usually raise your voice when you drop spoilers?
But only when I'm lying.
Only when I'm lying. Yeah. I'm dropping a new person on my show really quick. Yeah. It's definitely the truth.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, whatever. That thing is cool, right?
No, I do want to say real quick. I think I'm so beyond happy for both Ewan and Hayden, but like for Hayden in particular to get the love that he got at Celebration, where 100%. People were so kind and so supportive to him, and you can tell he was really having a good time.
Yep.
And then to not only have him come back, but he gets to play Darth Vader, one of the most iconic villains of all time.
Mhm.
I want everything good for him.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy he gets to experience that. And I can just sit and watch the credits and be like, that is freaking Hayden Christensen. And I'm so proud.
Agreed.
And that is my spiel.
I'll back you up. I 100% agree. Him, Ewan as well. Like that's why I love Celebration, because it is the like undiluted passion of Star Wars. That's not the internet discourse, you know. And like, you know me, Ahmed is my guy. Like I will fight to the death for that man. And to see that the prequel kids are now the adults. So like Ewan has said time and time again on the press junket for this show that when the prequels came out, the critics didn't like them, but he couldn't hear the voices of the kids they were made for. But now he can hear us. And for him and for Hayden and for anyone involved with the prequels to now get this like unbridled love from us means the world to me, because it's 15 years overdue, you know, and that they're accepting it. Like I remember interviews with Ewan McGregor like 10 years ago reading, and he said that he didn't super connect with Star Wars fans because his idea of the Star Wars fan was an adult pushing a kid through bars to get his autograph on an Obi Wan poster. So he always distanced himself from Star Wars fans because he's like, that's what Star Wars fans are. And I'm like, dude, I promise you, they're not all that. Like, that's the worst of us, right? And so, you know, and so like for him to see, oh, no, listen, you are so loved. You just haven't been able to hear us yet. And now that they're getting that, like I was at the 40th panel in Chicago when Hayden Christensen came out. And to see Hayden Christensen come back after everyone talking about, oh, his acting is so bad. Take a seat. For him to get on stage and to be applauded to the point where the walls are shaking from the vibration of the noise. That's what I'm talking about. Ahmed got the same thing. And I'm like, there we go. So now Ewan at this last celebration, he got it. And he's talked about like, I feel it. Like it's so overdue that he's getting it. And I'm so glad that he is. And I just want the best. Want the best for all of them. Just keep doing it. As long as you want to do it, I want you to do it. That's where I'm at with it. And they're killing it.
It feels good to see them have the reactions that they had at Celebration this weekend. Like, did you see that video of Ewan like almost tearing up on stage?
That's what I'm talking about.
Where he was like, thank you so much. And then he pulls the mic away from his mouth and he mouths, wow. Yeah. And then you can kind of see his eyes get a little bit teary.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and then everybody's chanting Obi Wan, Obi Wan, Obi Wan, Obi Wan. And he looks like he's about to like break down a little bit. And I was like, thank God. Like, thank God. Like, we want you to hear this and to feel that love and support from the fans, because we are thrilled that you guys are back.
Yeah.
Long story short, Ewan and Hayden deserve this.
Agreed.
And all the prequel actors deserve this. And
agreed.
Finally is all I have to say.
Finally. You're absolutely right. I will wave this banner. It's
wave
amazing.
the prequel banner.
That's right. Prequel Defense Force.
Prequel Defense Force. Tala. Right, that is her name. That is her name, right?
Sounds about right.
I'm going to look it up. I think I wrote it down. I'm going to double check. I don't want to say something wrong. Yes. Okay. Yes. So Tala, side character in this episode. She's the contact. Yep. Didn't expect it, but it makes sense. Really liked her. Was worried that she was going to kind of be overbearing because sometimes that happens with female characters, but she felt we didn't see that much of her, but I really liked what I saw.
Same.
I just thought she was like cool and she's very pretty and I liked her acting. But I do have to say,
Okay.
after I watched the episode the first time, I was really nervous. I was like, oh no, please don't tell me they're going to try to throw in like a romance with her and Obi-Wan, because when I first watched it, I definitely got those vibes.
Okay. A little bit of chemistry.
Which, by the way, I don't have a problem with that. But the show being as short as it is, and the intimacy of how Obi-Wan and Vader have hurt each other, and that being the overall weight of the show, if they tried to throw a romance in there, it would feel extremely undercooked.
Sure.
And B, it would take too much away from the overall plot, which is supposed to be on Obi-Wan and Vader. And so when I watched it, I was like, please don't do something. Please don't do something. I was like, maybe in a different area you could do that, but that's not what I want the show to focus on.
Sure.
Because it's almost trying to put too much
in.
But after I watched it the second time, I was like, okay, that feels better. It doesn't really feel like they're
Yeah.
trying to force anything. And then there was like an article with Screen Rant or something that came out where the actress who plays Tala, I cannot remember her name, but I know she's from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to try to say her name because I know it'll be wrong. But she said that it was originally written as a romance, but they scrapped it because Deborah Chow was like, hey, that's really predictable and that always happens. Where it's like, like the heroic ex-Jedi comes in and, the girl falls in love with him and whatever, which can work.
Sure.
It can work.
Mm-hmm.
But then Deborah Chow said, and she was like, nope, we scrapped that pretty quick.
Sure.
And then the actress who plays Tala was like, there's still like chemistry there, but it is not a romance. Sure. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, it's just one of those things where I think it would hurt the show if it was added in.
Sure.
Because it's not the focus.
Sure.
So other than that initial concern,
sure,
I really did like her.
Same.
But
okay.
Maybe a little irresponsible to leave Leia.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like a child. you left a 10-year-old?
Yeah.
Like,
to be
you
fair,
promised.
That 10-year-old was very commanding.
The 10-year-old's commanding, but you did promise Obi-Wan. You legit promised him when he's on the run, where you were like, I will get this child to Alderaan, and then you leave her. And God bless Tala. So glad you saved Obi-Wan.
I was about to say, if she didn't, Obi-Wan would be dead.
Obi-Wan would be dead. But and I get the story. I get the story calls for it. But I was like, Tala, I love you, but honey, that's like a 10-year-old kid who can't defend herself. Yeah. Can we be somewhat responsible here? But other than that, I did really like the character. And I think she'll be a part of the next episode to go and rescue Leia. Because
I'm down.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Yeah, you feel the same way you like
Tala? I love her. I think she's amazing. I love the switch when like Obi-Wan kills those stormtroopers and it's like, all right, cool, let's get out of here. And then an Imperial officer and more stormtroopers show up and you're like, oh no, this is going from bad to worse. Then the officer is actually a rebel spy. You're like, oh snap.
Snap.
Loved it. And I love the idea of the path when she talks about like, you're not the first Jedi to come through here. Quinlan Vos is still alive and doing the damn thing. Love it. He's saving kids. Love it. I love that she's talking about we're trying to connect the systems as like a Jedi Underground Railroad. So cool. Bringing Monique back. She really liked her because she said she's never seen a character that enlisted in the Empire for the right reasons originally. She's like, we've never seen a character like that before. And I was like, oh, you're right. Because, Finn was a stormtrooper who turned good, but he was taken as a kid and they were kind of brainwashed. And like, we haven't really seen someone who like wholeheartedly, I believe in the Empire. Callus for sure. She hasn't seen Rebels.
Monique, gosh, gotta get
around
what I'm
that. Saying?
No, that's a good point.
It is, and I hadn't thought of it. So the fact that she was like, yeah, like to join it wholeheartedly, and like then to realize, oh, things aren't the way that I thought. It's like Bodhi, right?
Yeah,
same sort of thing. So it's really cool to see like a high-ranking Imperial officer, because Bodhi was a pilot. He's like doing refueling, like he's one of the worker guys. But for someone who works their way up into the Empire's officer system to turn, it's just very cool. And like, is it scary? Yeah, sometimes it is, because sometimes an Inquisitor's walking into your room, and you're a rebel spy. You're putting it. I loved this episode for a million reasons. Obviously. Rogue One is a masterpiece. Again, I'll fist fight anyone who disagrees. And just the idea that this episode really drove home good people, regular people, risking their lives for the right thing. That's Obi Wan Kenobi. The Jedi are the hope of the galaxy, and you're like, yeah, I will risk everything to get him to safety. It's amazing. Like, how do you not walk away inspired from that?
Yeah, I really like what you had to say there just now, which is another overarching theme of the episode, which is Obi-Wan having to realize that there are still good people in the world, despite all the bad and the suffering that the Empire represents. And so Tala kind of represents that idea. Yeah. And then further to that, like the pilot who, gets killed at the end, who's supposed to take, like, that's still like a risk of a good person trying to do like a good thing. Yeah. And it's so it kind of, there's a little bit of a commentary there about like Obi-Wan has to find his faith in people again.
Yep.
in
100%.
individuals to do the right thing, which is just another great part of the arc.
Yeah.
Of the overall
it's perfect.
show.
It's perfect.
It is pretty beautiful.
I love
it. I didn't even think about this. The Quinlan Vos mention. You know what? Great mention, by the way. Was so happy. Ewan acted that greatly too, where he goes, Quinlan was here, and then he has like this big grin, and then it fades. And I'm like, yes, love it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty convinced that Ewan was given a list of Clone Wars episodes to watch. Like, I'm pretty sure the story group was like, hey, so we're going to put these characters in here, but please see this list of specific Clone Wars episodes so you understand what's going on. And you can kind of get that vibe. And so I'm pretty sure that Ewan got homework, and he had to go do that homework and then come back to it. But I really did love the mention of Quinlan. And then what was that line that Obi-Wan reads that Quinlan wrote on the wall? Was it only when the eyes are closed
can they truly see?
Truly see.
Yeah, something like that.
What does that mean, Brian? What do you think that means?
You know, it's like that old adage. You know, it's like you don't appreciate the light until you're in the dark, kind of thing. It's like when you fully. That's how I kind of took it. It's like being the light of the galaxy. You know, like because Obi-Wan right now has been sitting in darkness for a decade. You know, even from himself. You know, and that's the big thing. Like you said, he has to find hope again in people, but also in himself, because he's like, I'm not that guy anymore. Yeah, you are, Obi-Wan. I don't care if you're depressed. Pick up that lightsaber. My daughter needs your help. You know, and he's had to like protect Leia, and like, not all people are all good. They're too late. They betrayed us. We don't believe in them. And then he has to accept the help from this officer and trust her. And then by trusting her, sees she's been helping other Jedi as well. Like, there is hope in the galaxy. There's good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for.
It's worth fighting for. Yeah.
You know?
I love you for including that. Yes.
It's just, the Jedi are my jam.
Chef's
it
kiss.
is. And I love the Quinlan nod as well, because Obi-Wan mentions Quinlan Vos in episode 3. The quick little thing. That was another thing I had to explain to Monique when it's like, oh, Quinlan. I was like, remember in episode 3 when Obi-Wan was talking to Anakin about the Outer Rim
sieges? At minute 1:18:21 seconds.
Yeah. Remember Anakin? He missed the briefing on the Outer Rim sieges, and he says that Master Vos has moved his troops to Boss City. Remember that? Yeah, that's Quinlan Vos. She's like,
that's Quinlan Vos.
Okay.
Monique's like, didn't ask for this, but all right.
And I'm like, bring out the thread. All right, so here is this person here, all right? Have you seen him before? I mean, technically, no, but in episode 1, he's in the back, like in a cantina. It's a little yellow line, you know, like, so kind of yes, but also no. You might want to sit down for this next part. It's
mapping it out on the wall.
Yeah,
so
she's a saint for being married to me.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. Marrying you with all the Star Wars news included. Yeah, well, you don't realize what you're marrying. You're marrying me, but then here are all my friends. It's like you're holding hands with every Star Wars character behind you.
Exactly. Here's an apology signed by all of us.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But no, the inclusion of the Quinlan mention makes me wonder if we're getting him in this show.
I hope so. You know,
what do you think?
I try not to speculate. Only because
fair.
Like
that's
I
valid.
Said, I don't want to disappoint myself. I will say it would be cool. Granted, I'll preface it by saying this: whatever they're going to do, that's what I want, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm here for it. 100% full send. I'm down. After this episode, especially after this episode, whatever they're doing, that's what I want. But it would be cool. In an alternate
However,
in an alternate reality, it would be cool if Obi-Wan was taken to Jabin. Like they said, we got to get him to this Jabin place where they've taken other people. It would be cool if there were other Jedi there that she has helped in the past get new identities. And Obi-Wan was like, Leia needs help. Here's how she's connected. I need help going to get her. And they're like, well, you're Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's rally together and go get her. I think that would be cool.
Ooh.
So that's, like in The Mandalorian when they go to rescue the kid. But like Obi-Wan rescue Leia.
Oh my,
and
that's a good theory.
Like the Jedi are, there's still more of us out there, Obi-Wan. You're not alone. There's some good people. We'll get you in there. You go get her. Because they're using her as bait.
That's
they don't
totally
care about
true.
Leia.
That's totally true.
Reva's got her, and she wants Obi-Wan. Like, they know he's going to come back for her.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, if they are going to, it's Jabim, right?
Jabim. Yes,
right.
Jabim,
and if they put Jedi, I think, if they put Jedi through there, I think it's safe to say that we are going to see some Jedi. I mean, like, this might be a reach, but, you know, the second Jedi Fallen Order game, Jedi Survivor, that's in the timeline of Obi-Wan. Like, that is 5 years after the original game.
If we saw
Cal could be one of those Jedi that go through that. And we could see him. Now, I'm not saying I'm, like, necessarily expecting it, but they opened up a lot when they mentioned that planet at the end.
Yeah.
Because if that's really the path, and Obi-Wan's just been badly injured by Vader, I don't know. Maybe do we go see Jedi? Do we get some Force healing? Like what happens here? You know, so
I don't know.
That's a pretty open end. That's all I'm saying. But the mention was cool. The only when the eyes are closed can you truly see the way. This is the way.
Yeah, you know,
which I also could play into how Obi-Wan communes with Qui-Gon. So
don't give me hope, Melissa.
Somebody, my sister and I were talking about this the other day, and I think I was talking about it with my brother Matt, is that we think a big reason why Obi-Wan can't commune with Qui-Gon is because he's so emotionally attached to Anakin and he can't let go. And so, like, you know, how he's cut himself off from the Force because he can't use the Force. Otherwise, so there is that element of, like, deliberately choosing not to use the Force to hide yourself, but also at the same time,
100%.
like, he's so attached to Anakin. He's so grieved. What could I have done? Could I have saved him? What if I did this? What if I did that? That he's not really living in the moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, which is Qui-Gon's whole thing. Qui-Gon's like, hey, you need to live in the moment. You need to be here. You need to be present. Because if you're not, like,
here and now where it belongs.
Right. And so I really feel like that could come back. And Qui-Gon was like, you were not open to it.
Yeah. He's got to be still as well. Like, that's what the whole Kenobi book by John Jackson Miller was. Like, the entire book, he's reaching out to Qui-Gon and getting nothing back. And then at the very end, Qui-Gon answers. Because you have to get to this point, like, you're communicating with the first Jedi in the history of 1,000 generations of Jedi to come back from the netherworld of the Force. And you got to be, like, quiet. You got to figure your whole self out. You got to be completely aligned and then listening. And Obi-Wan has a lot going on right now. You know,
he's so emotional. He's emotionally compromised. He's a little emotionally compromised.
Exactly. Like, you need all the lights off. You need some noise canceling headphones. I mean, you got a lot of prep to do to be able to hear from the other side of the Force.
So true.
And now he's being hunted, and he just got burned alive. Is this? I am going to explode if we hear Qui-Gon. Like, I'm telling you right now.
I mean, I think that's okay. Two things, Brian. I think that is definitely happening for sure because they've hinted way too much. There's too many hints. They've literally deliberately, like, in the recap, you know, they did of the prequels before the first show. Which, by the way, that was amazing.
Incredible.
They include the last part of that recap is Yoda saying, "Training I have for you in your solitude on Tatooine. Here's how to commune with your old master." So I'm pretty sure that by the end of this show, or I don't know, like the episode before, we're getting the Qui-Gon cameo, voice cameo, or whatever.
Die. I'm glad I did this so there's records that I existed, because I will ascend.
At which point, when that does happen, you are coming back on.
Oh, you are brave.
Because
you thought this was bad?
No. My friend, listen to me. I've had this plan from day one. I was like, hey, so there's somebody that I need to bring on the show when Qui-Gon appears. This is very important because I've been waiting for this. I have listened to you for the last 5 years talk about the one thing I just want Qui-Gon. Like, just give me Qui-Gon. Yeah. You've been talking about this for so long that I need to get there. See?
Yeah. This focus, as in your focus determines your reality. That's a quote I live by.
So all I'm saying is that when that happens, because it's going to happen,
God help you.
I'm calling you and I'm saying, hey, come on the show, even if it's a raw reaction. Maybe we'll stream it.
It will be.
That will be funny. How about this? The day Qui-Gon appears in Obi-Wan, because he will. He will.
Oh, don't give me
You're
hope.
coming on the show the same day. And we're going to stream it live. And you can just go off. And
So
I won't even talk.
Is you want to get rid of your entire audience, because I can help with that.
No, our entire audience will die laughing.
It's gonna be a lot. I can't even fathom it.
I can't wait.
Like I mean, not to get too real, but like we've mentioned with Obi Wan, that's my guy, right? Like that's I feel like Qui-Gon is my hero. It's who I always wanted to be. Is who I look to today to be like, oh, how do I better emulate that? It was such an important thing. Like I am who I am because of Qui-Gon Jinn and Aragorn. Like I try my best to emulate those things.
Perfect role models.
Exactly, and they have been since I was like 8 years old. And the grief side of Obi-Wan I relate to because I've been there. You know, I've lost a mentor when I was young, and like the idea of being able to hear their voice again is just I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry so bad. I already know. So I want that so bad for Obi-Wan. Because if you've lost anyone in your life, you know the one thing you want more than anything in the world is to talk to them again. For a second. That's it. You'll do anything for it. And that's why I can't accept that it's going to happen. Because if it doesn't, then I'll just be devastated. But then I did it to myself. But if it does happen, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. Yes.
I mean, all I'm saying, dude, is it is happening.
Yeah.
For a fact.
We'll see.
No. We
got 3 more episodes.
It is happening. Mm-hmm. And you're coming on the show before anybody else has you. I want that.
All right.
That has to happen. So it's going to happen.
Okay. All right.
But if you don't text me, I'm gonna be
Am I gonna be
so
able
angry.
to text? Well, I still have hands.
Well, you still have hands? I don't know. Who's to say? If you don't text me, I will be very upset with you. But you heard it here first. I'm bringing Brian Ballance back.
God help you
on the show.
Anyone who has survived
the second Obi-Wan shows up. I don't even care. Matt's gonna have to deal with it. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
this is very important.
Warn him adequately.
I will. He will be warned, but I might just have it streamed. You and me.
Goodness gracious.
But I don't know. Did we cover everything? I think we pretty much covered everything.
One thing.
Which
we touched on earlier, but I really want to talk about is how personal all of this is for Reva. Because she saw that Jedi symbol and she reacted to it.
Yeah, she had a pretty intense reaction, actually.
Yeah, she knocked some stuff over. She wasn't happy about it.
By the way, I think that pretty much confirms that she was one of those kids in the first episode.
You know? You think so? Okay.
I am confident.
Okay.
Did you hear that theory going around that she heard or she saw Anakin in the temple being referred to as Lord Vader? So that's how she would know that Anakin is Vader. Okay, so people are saying that she saw Anakin and therefore she knows that secret. I still think Vader has to kill her because anybody who knows that Anakin is Vader dies. Like you kind of have to. So I think that she's going to die or she needs to anyway.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The other thing being is that people are like, okay, if she has beef with Obi-Wan, did she maybe hear the beacon that Obi-Wan sent out telling the Jedi, do not come back to the temple? And because of that, she was captured and tortured and turned into an Inquisitor. And so is that her beef with Obi-Wan, which I think is a pretty good theory.
Okay. Interesting.
But you're definitely right. She had a pretty intense reaction to that.
Something's up. There's something going on because we know the Grand Inquisitor was a temple guard. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, while I'm thinking about it out loud, the Grand Inquisitor told her essentially like, "You're not one of us. You came from trash. You don't know what you're talking about." He was talking down to her of like, "I see what you're doing. You're trying to be an upstart and like skip the line. It's not going to happen." So, yeah, where did she come from? Why is she trying so hard to impress Vader specifically? Was she a Jedi before? Was she not? Was she a random like Imperial that like believed in the cause wholeheartedly and then showed Force sensitivity? And they're like, "Hey, come to the special classes." You know, I don't know, but it's personal. She's very singularly focused, and she doesn't know his name. That's something I've been wondering as well.
That's something that they really. I don't know how they're going to tie up these last 3 episodes, dude. Because like I just don't know. Like they really need to address her motivations specifically because it's like Anakin Skywalker being Vader is the best kept secret in the galaxy.
Nobody
next
knows.
next to the existence of like Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
And so the only way I can see her having beef with Obi-Wan is being a Jedi, because otherwise how would she have beef with him? Like I just don't see any other way.
Yeah.
So all signs to me point to her being an ex-Jedi.
Okay.
The other half of that is she saw Anakin in the temple being referred to as Lord Vader as a child and was like, what? And she's using that to get to Obi-Wan and then simultaneously gain favor with Darth Vader. Rhyme.
Yeah.
Gain
I
favor
like it.
with Darth Vader.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think they have a
Right.
lot left to do with her. I just hope it's
100%.
good for the sake of the character.
I have zero doubts. I have full blind faith in whatever they're going to do for the next 3 episodes. But I'm very interested. I'm very interested because there's a reason, and we're going to learn it. But yeah, that's probably my biggest question with her. Outside,
like, what
of,
are you
why-
doing?
like, why? How does she know? Because and also on that note, does Vader know she knows?
Yeah, because if he knows, he'd kill her.
You know, so interesting. I don't know. Because the only other person that knows is Tarkin, and he figured it out himself because he spent a lot of time with him. He's like, I'm pretty sure that's Anakin. But yeah, for Reva, I don't know. I'm very interested. I've full faith. But why I've zero doubt is going to be incredible. We're only halfway done. We just saw
we're
greatest
halfway
40 minutes
done.
of Star Wars, and we're halfway done.
That's crazy.
Halfway. We haven't
Halfway.
even got to the end. We're still setting stuff up. I mean, it's going to be incredible. And I'm not ready for it. But I'm ready for it, but I'm not ready for it.
I'm ready,
You know?
but I'm not ready.
Yeah. Like, I can't wait, but also, it's going to be the greatest thing in ever. I'm so excited.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the last 3 episodes, but especially this next one, especially going to that planet Jabeam, and if we're going to see any other Jedi.
Yeah, I know.
But I think we pretty much covered it all. I mean, wow, what a packed episode. You've given me an hour and a half of your time. Thank you for being so gracious with your time.
Of course, I ramble. If anyone's made it this far, congratulations. You are the select few who can deal with me in potent doses.
Look, man. I mean, we're kind of living history right now.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, in this, the year of our Lord 2022.
Yes.
We are getting
2022 of Star Wars.
We're getting new Obi-Wan,
I know.
Anakin, Qui-Gon content. Like, are you kidding me? Shut up. Like, how many opportunities do we have to do this kind of thing? I mean, rare.
It's
so rare
to be alive.
So I'm just grateful that you've given me your time.
Of course, it's you. It's you. Come on.
Thank you, Brian. But I'm definitely going to have to steal you again.
Done.
Probably the same day.
Yeah.
So if you were up for that, I would love to steal you.
Of course. You're so brave. After this, like if you said that in the beginning, I'd be like, let's see how it goes. But
let's see how the podcast goes.
Yeah. To be up for round 2 is commendable.
Oh, I love talking to you, dude.
I'm back at you, pal.
So I am gonna make you plug though your podcast, Brian.
Ugh.
Where can people find your podcast and find you?
You can find me if you want to. Unless you're the police, at Jedi Brian on all social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. BrianBallance.com, balance with 2 L's, has all my stuff. It's like short for there it is. Boom. Look at you, you professional podcaster. That BrianBallance.com has all my stuff. I'm an actor, so if you want to see any of the short films or stuff that I've worked on, the Dorky Diva Show is available everywhere podcasts are found. That we did a feature-length Star Wars audio drama called The Adventures of the Zolan Dart. If you're into that, you might enjoy that. And the Interesting Podcast is a show that I'm very proud of. Had a lot of really cool people on, Melissa included. God, it's reversed. There she is. Melissa included. She's incredible. As you know. So check that out. That's everywhere podcasts are found as well. Spotify, iTunes. The links are at brianballance.com. It's all there. It's all there. I'm so bad at this.
No, you're not.
I
Dude,
never say it out loud, so it's like.
Do you know how many times I have to do the outro of our show? Nobody knows this, by the way. Like, spoiler alert to our show, or not really spoiler, but
BTS.
I'm not good at this. Just so everybody knows. Like, exiting our show at least 5 times, I have to be like, okay, like and subscribe to the podcast. Okay, Apple.
Yeah.
Okay, Spotify. Okay, they can also watch us on YouTube. Okay. And so I have to, like, it almost has to be scripted because I'm just not good at this yet. It's
Same.
not like a professional thing, so I totally understand. But
You're
you guys
killing
should
it.
definitely go follow Brian. He does have an amazing podcast. It's just so I've never listened to a podcast before where it's just strictly focused on getting to know somebody and their interests, no matter if they are a bigger like voice actor or a celebrity, or if they work on big movies, or if they're just somebody in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Brian is not exclusive to one type of person.
No.
He talks to people from all walks of life. So if you're just interested in people and experiences and how other people relate to the world and what's going on around them, I highly recommend his podcast for that. And of course, the Dorky Diva show. Savannah is another dear friend. And so you guys should go give them all your love because they deserve it. Give them all the support. But that is my plug for you. And our last plug is you guys can listen to another Star Wars podcast here on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Breaker, any podcasting platform that is your specific choice. You can also follow us on Instagram at @star_wars_pod. It's a mouthful.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I will see you after episode 4, Brian. I mean, we'll have to see what the show has for us in store then, but I'm definitely stealing you for the Qui-Gon centric episode. So
it's just going to be screaming.
Well, everyone send thoughts and prayers to Brian for when he eventually implodes. But
I'm going to need it.
until then, which we will see you on the show again for, I am very grateful for your time, Brian. Thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with me. And for all our followers, we will see you after episode 4. And may the Force be with you.
And Godspeed, Rebels.